Hi there. I'm Dr. Sherry Walling, and I'm a clinical psychologist who takes care of the mental health needs of entrepreneurs and high performers. This means that I spend a lot of time working with very ambitious people who have big ideas. I often feel like I am brought into people's lives when they are in the gap between how their life has been and where they're going. And there's this tension that happens when you're in this possibility gap where you know what you want your life to be like, or you know what that next business idea or that relationship change is. There's something that is stirring inside of you, a restlessness, a knowing. And the pieces are beginning to take shape, but there's not really a clear path to the outcome. Or there are some things that are internal to the person that get in the way and kind of leave them stuck in this possibility gap. So they know where they can go, but they're not quite there yet. And they're not sure how to bridge this space. And I think a lot of people have ideas about what it might look like for them to live bigger, to make a bigger impact, to take more risks, to be more fully themselves. And there's a certain painfulness that happens when people know what's possible or have a sense of what's possible, but aren't quite sure how to get there or what to do. I recently came across this poem by L.E. Bowman that I really loved as a bit of encouragement to take those steps to help bridge the possibility gap and to go from where you are to where you want to be or where you could be. And I'll read the poem to you. I found it on Instagram, but it's L.E. Bowman is one of I know them from the button poetry movement. It's a sort of collection of poets who use button poetry as a place to showcase and share their work. So this is the poem by L.E. Bowman. If you're alive, then act alive. The human heart beats approximately 100,000 times a day. Give it a reason to beat faster. The human body has trillions of nerve endings. Give them something to feel. You're going to break, so let it be wide open. You're going to fumble, so let it be towards something worth crawling to. That thing that calls your name, chase it. That thing that rattles your bones, do it until your courage drowns out the fear. When your soul growls, feed it. When your skin tugs, shapeshift into something new. Your life is bread, eat it. Soak it in salted butter, in rich olive oil and deep vinaigrette. Slurp the day, mouth open, belly ready. Let the remnants stain your lips. Dance your steps, don't have to be rhythmic. Sing, who cares if you can't. Write postcards to who you once were. Let them see how well you lived. So I love this poem. I love the challenge of it to really step more fully into oneself, to really feel alive. I think one of the fears that I have about, how society is going is that there's just so much numbness, so much time in front of screens, so much time sitting still, so much time worrying and feeling unsafe, managing fear, so much time just being fed information about things to be afraid of in our food, in our water, in our government, in our politics, in our neighborhoods. And not that that's all not helpful. Some of it is helpful. Some of us are being fed things that are not good for us. And, we need to be aware of that and change it. But I feel like we are a little bit obsessed with fear, and it keeps us living very small and not really stepping into what we think would be possible for us in our full aliveness, the full expression of who we are. So the things that get in our way in terms of really living full out. Number one, I think this fear that keeps us small is really a fear about disruption. When we make big changes, there are trickle effects, or there are reverberations in our lives that change the nature of our relationships. They change maybe the nature of some of our agreements. They do create a lot of disruption. Change creates a lot of disruption. And we kind of intuitively know that, But I don't think many of us really take the time to think through kind of the strategy for that disruption. How do we mitigate disruption if we're going to make changes? So, number one thing that keeps us playing small is fear of disruption. The second thing is somewhat related, but it's lack of mastery. So, when we make big change, we are often stepping into something that we're less competent in. So, if we want to change the nature of the business that we're running, we want to add a new product, we want to pivot and do something really different. Maybe we want to stop selling a product and we want to get into coaching, or maybe we're tired of coaching, we want to get into products or something. But there's some shift, and that necessitates us stepping into not only a possibility gap, but a knowledge gap, an experience gap. So say we've been doing something some way for 10 or 15 years. To make a radical change means that we step into the novice life again. We do not have mastery. We do not have the experience that we have in that specific domain. And so I think that freaks a lot of people out, fairly so. You don't know as much as you do about your new life as you know about how to operate in your old life. And so there are going to be some bumbles. There are going to be some moments where things don't go well and you don't know what to do. And you're, again, in this learning mode, which keeps people stuck, keeps them still. The other thing that can keep us really stuck in the possibility gap is our commitments. Many of us have made commitments to partners, to dogs, to children, to mortgages, to car payments. We have set our lives up in such a way that risk becomes very difficult. And the more commitments we have, and often those commitments are wonderful, they add a tremendous amount of richness and value to our lives. I'm not saying that they're not, or that commitments are bad. Most of us do, with our hearts and our souls, sort of double down on certain people or certain activities. And those commitments can be difficult to navigate when we are in the midst of significant change. And most of us have an ethic where we want to honor our commitments. But I think one of the challenges that we face is we can face a poverty of creativity around how those commitments change over time, or how we can create more space for our evolving self by keeping the people that we are in commitments with, like keeping them up to date, keeping them current with what we're thinking about and what's important to us and what helps us to come alive. Hopefully, the people in our lives, our romantic partners, even our business partners, are committed to us and to our well-being in a reciprocal way, so that the management of the commitment over time becomes the responsibility of everyone in the commitment. It's not that we just have to stay in stasis, stay still, but we should build commitments that can adjust and evolve and change over time as we evolve and change over time. So this place that we find ourselves in, where we are maybe sparking with ideas and with things that are calling to us, things that we're longing for, but we are in the possibility gap and we are afraid because we don't have mastery of this unknown, because we have commitments that keep us bound and still and that we need to honor, because we know wisely that big change causes big disruption and we're just not quite sure how that's going to go. So what to do about this possibility gap? There's fewer things that are more useful to an evolving human than journaling, than writing. Keeping track of our thoughts and our ideas, really having a way of capturing what's shifting inside of us, and letting a journal or a diary be a place where we can evolve our thoughts. Because we do want to make big changes strategically, not sloppily. We want to make them strategically as we think about potential disruption, and we want to mitigate that disruption. Like, we don't want to break things in our growth and development. We want to bring our people along, bring our commitments along as well as we can. And we want to spend the time to help prepare ourselves for big change. So again, if the shift is in reorganizing some element of your primary relationship, or if the shift is in changing the way that you want to run your business, the shift is in leaving your business, maybe it's time to exit or to sell, be really aware of what's stirring inside of you. Take it seriously, write it down, and use your strategic intellect to support the soul level growth and change that's happening inside of you. I think sometimes we think that big change is about inspiration, or it's about strategy. And the reality is it is both. We need our hearts and souls, the things that sort of fuel our ideas and our growth. We need those to be supported by our intellect, by our ideas, by our mastery, by our ability to think through and execute on a strategy. So let your full self come to your change. And then, of course, there's this moment where you just leap, where you just buy the plane ticket, or you message the person that's been on your mind and heart, or you write the marketing copy for the new product or new process. There has to be a moment where you just decide to go. And I think those are grand moments in our lives. Those are moments of optimal aliveness, where we are aware of the risks, aware of the challenges, but we decide to go anyway. And I am all in on that. I am a huge fan of people stepping more fully into their aliveness and turning off the TV, getting off the phone, stepping more fully into our embodied lives. So we're still fairly new in the year, and often a new year marks an opportunity or an invitation to big change. So if you are still in that place where you are in that possibility gap, like you want to go somewhere, you want to start a podcast, you want to, whatever it is you want to do, you feel it stirring inside of you. Don't be afraid. Give it a go. I'll read this poem one more time in closing because I find it so lovely. This is Ellie Bowman. If you're alive, then act alive. The human heart beats approximately 100,000 times a day. Give it a reason to beat faster. The human body has trillions of nerve endings. Give them something to feel. You're going to break, so let it be wide open. You're going to fumble, so let it be towards something worth crawling to. The thing that calls your name, chase it. That thing that rattles your bones, do it until your courage drowns out the fear. When your soul grows, feed it. When your skin tugs, shapeshift into something new. Your life is bread, eat it. Soak it in salted butter, in rich olive oil and deep vinaigrette. Slurp the day, mouth open, belly ready. Let the remnants stain your lips. Dance. Your steps don't have to be rhythmic. Sing. Who cares if you can't? Write postcards to who you once were. Let them see how well you lived. We only get as far as we know this one shot at our lives. And it is our responsibility to steward that aliveness well, to tend it, to care for it, to enjoy it, to let our selves shine as big as we can in this round of our lives. So if you are in this possibility gap, when you're in a place of knowing, but also a place of fear, be gentle with yourself there. Don't stay too long. There's something wonderful on the other side. Thanks so much for listening.